Calcium is required for all of the following except dash. A. Muscle contraction. B. Nerve conduction. C. Blood clotting. D. All of these require calcium. The answer is D. All of these require calcium. Calcium is essential for many processes of the body, including but not limited to nerve conduction, muscle contraction, blood clotting, and bone mineralization. Which of the following lists the zones of mitochondrial ossification in the correct order? A. Resting, proliferation, maturation, calcification, ossification. B. Maturation, proliferation, resting, ossification, calcification. C. Proliferation, calcification, maturation, ossification, resting. D. Proliferation, maturation, resting, calcification, ossification. The answer is A. Resting, proliferation, maturation, calcification, ossification. There are 5 distinct zones in regions of mitochondrial ossification. These are the resting zone, the zone of proliferation, the zone of maturation, the zone of calcification, and the zone of ossification. In what zone of mitochondrial ossification do the chondrocytes typically die off, leaving cavities for colonization by osteoprogenitor cells? A. The zone of proliferation. B. The zone of ossification. C. The zone of maturation. D. The resting zone. E. The zone of calcification. The answer is E. The zone of calcification. The behavior of cells in the zones of mitochondrial ossification is as follows: the resting zone, normal resting chondrocytes within hyaline cartilage. The zone of proliferation, rapid mitosis of chondrocytes. The zone of maturation, hypertrophy of chondrocytes. The zone of calcification, the death of chondrocytes due to lack of nutrients and inability to eliminate cellular wastes. The zone of ossification, migration of osteoprogenitor cells into the cavities left behind by dead chondrocytes and mineralization of newly formed bone. Which of the following mineral gives bone its rigid structure? A. Phosphate. B. Calcium. C. Collagen. D. Hydroxyapatite. The answer is D. Hydroxyapatite. The rigid structure of bone is created by hydroxyapatite, a calcium apatite that contains both calcium and phosphate in the formula, Ca5PO4, 3OH. Both calcium and phosphate are necessary to create bone structure. A deficiency of either will degrade the structural integrity of the bone matrix. Last, collagen is a protein rather than a mineral, and primarily functions to add flexibility to bone in order to prevent fracture. Bones are made up of which of the following three tissue types? A. Compact bone, white marrow, and red marrow. B. Cancellous bone, spongy bone, and trabecular bone. C. Cancellous bone, fat, and bone marrow. D. Cortical bone, cancellous bone, and bone marrow. The answer is D. Cortical bone, cancellous bone, and bone marrow. Bones are made up of the following three primary tissue types. 1. Cortical bone, which is the hard exterior layer, also referred to as compact bone. 2. Cancellous bone, which is the porous bone tissue that fills the center of bones, also referred to as spongy bone or trabecular bone tissue, and 3. Bone marrow, a hematopoietic tissue that fills spaces in trabecular bone.